We are like, what, 9 days away from the release of the Snyder Cut? 8 days away from the Snyder Cut?
Yes! 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 Yes!
So, the Zack Snyder Cut, the crazy fan favorite project that I didn't think would ever happen, or I didn't think would happen for 15 years. I thought we would see it 15 years from now. And that's not a cynical thing. It's literally just because it makes and has made Warner Brothers look really bad. Everything we've learned about it puts Warner Brothers in a bad light, in which case it's uncommon that a studio would be so willing to openly admit their mistakes in this regard and invest a huge chunk of money to try and create a new version of a movie they already spent $300 million into that didn't make as much as they thought. And now they're like, let's try it a second time. There's not really precedent for that happening in this sort of time frame. The closest to it that I can think of on this scale would be like the Richard Donner cut for Superman 2, which came out 25 years after the original film came out. And like it's a similar sort of idea of two directors, competing visions, producer drama, and massive reshoots. But it was 25 years later, not within a handful of years. This thing is finally coming out. So I just wanted to talk a little bit our final expectations. How much better do we think it'll be? Do we think it'll be better? Do we think it'll be worse? What are all of our expectations on all of that fun stuff? For me, my starting point is that I think it'll be on par with the reception to Man of Steel and Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
That Zack Snyder has a very divisive view of these DC characters. That's what makes it interesting. It's like spicy food. Some people love spicy food and some people can't handle a bite of spicy food. And that's Zack Snyder when it comes to DC characters. And his fanboys are going to eat it up and love it, and they'll see it as the completion of this masterpiece trilogy, or at least the next piece of his trilogy, this thing that he's working on. I think a bunch of the people that hated Batman v Superman thought Man of Steel was way too dark. This is more of that. They're going to get more of the thing they didn't like before. I don't think it's going to win them over. And then you have people like me that really like Man of Steel. I think Batman v Superman is good, ambitious, but flawed. And I think that's what this is going to be. I think it's going to be ambitious but flawed. And I think I'll receive it a lot better because it's going to be one unified vision rather than a gross Frankenstein monster that of competing visions that do not remotely complement one another. Joss Whedon, his strengths in no way complement Zack Snyder's, and whatever went on during that shoot, clearly the actors were checked out during the reshoots, and you see that on screen. So I'm expecting a significantly better film because it's a unified vision, but I think it'll be just as divisive as Batman v Superman was. Cody, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit exhausted with it to the point where I wish I was more excited for it, but it's just been such a huge topic for years now. And you get the two screaming camps of, Zack Snyder sucks. Everything that he does is terrible. And he's a genius. This is going to be the greatest comic book movie of all time. And you're all going to see. And so I'm at this point, I'm just kind of quietly waiting for the movie. But I'm right there with you. I think that anybody, whether you're a Zack Snyder fanatic or not, that thinks that this is going to like blow everybody's minds and be like this huge saving grace for his version of DC, I think you're out of your mind. I think that it's going to be exactly the same reception that he always gets in the DC universe. And I'm with you. I love Man of Steel.
Excellent!
Man of Steel is one of those movies that every time I watch it, I like it more. And BVS is something that it has a lot of awesome stuff in it, and it has a lot of very baffling, weird decisions in it that kind of every time that I watch that, the things that I love more, the things that I dislike more. And I expect that it'll be on par with that for Justice League. It looks cool. And I think that it would have to be an extreme dumpster fire to not be better than the one that we already got. I would be shocked if I watched this and said, wow, I prefer the other one.
Right. I would too. And some of that's on the pure level of because of the quality of that. A lot of it is simply because I think that movie is gross.
Yeah, I'm with you. I haven't even had the ability to rewatch it since theaters because everything that I've learned about it since then, aside from it just not being that great of a movie, it just kind of makes me not want anything to do with it. So, yeah, I expect it's going to be a lot of things that I think are going to be great to kind of to carry through some of the things that he set up in the previous two movies. I also have a fear that there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be left hanging on the hook. And I don't know if we're going to get a follow up to that. That's my biggest fear, is that we're going to watch this. We're going to go, great. Now what?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right that this is probably going to frustrate when we get to the end of it. Griffin, what are your expectations?
Well, just off of that point, I think there is actually a real shot that we do get to see this universe continued on HBO Max, because they don't really have a whole lot of original content. You already have a built-in fan base that is rabid for this sort of content. And I think that, well, I don't expect the Snyder Cut to do like massive numbers. I do think they will do big enough numbers to warrant continuing his vision on HBO Max, maybe seeing some like the Deathstroke thing that he had in mind, the Ben Affleck Batman thing he had in mind, and so on and so forth. Maybe continuing the Justice League story. We saw those leaked scripts, which I think had some really interesting ideas in it. And so I think a great thing about HBO Max is the opportunity to allow Zack to continue this sort of thing. In terms of the film itself, I mean, it really doesn't matter. It's a movie made for the fans. Like, it's a movie that is for all the people that like worked hard to like champion it, everything that they have done. And so like, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It's going to exist. And it is that hard work and that dedication and that loyalty, paying off. But also, like you said, I think it's easily going to be better than the Joss Whedon corporate trash thing that we got, which is it's not even a movie. So like, yeah, I mean, and also, I mean, realistically, it doesn't matter what critics think of this film. It doesn't matter because like it's going to have its fans, the people who are primed and ready to watch this movie, who have been since day one, are going to eat it up. They're going to love it. It's going to be giving them exactly what they want. It's Zack Snyder. Like, first of all, I mean, we just go back to Man of Steel when they said that they were announcing Zack Snyder is going to be the key creative driving force of their cinematic universe. I mean, Warner Brothers should have known then that it would be divisive, because Zack Snyder isn't someone who makes films for like, everyone or whatever. He obviously has a distinct vision in a way he likes telling stories, and a lot of people like that. The people who do are loyal and they are rabid, but like, if there's also like plenty of people who don't like that. And so, I mean, going back to that decision, if they really wanted to, create a cinematic universe akin to Marvel or whatever, they shouldn't have chosen someone like Zack Snyder as their driving force. And their biggest problem was, going away from that vision because they got scared. And then we saw what happened when they went away from that vision. The end results or what they released into the public in theaters was not as good as the stuff that we got, like the BVS Ultimate Edition, or what I'm anticipating we get with the Snyder Cut here. And so, I think it'll be, if you like Zack Snyder, I'm sure you'll really like the film. If you don't, then, just... Right. Don't watch it. I don't know. I don't know what to say, but realistically, it doesn't matter because it's going to be a success. Yeah, I don't expect it to win any new Zack Snyder DC fans. No, it's kind of critic proof in that regard, and in fact, his critics will almost be happy. Like if critics, his fans will almost love it if critics hate it, because they love that us versus them mentality. And Zack Snyder is almost the antithesis of Disney. He really is. Makes broad appeal. Everyone is going to love it. It's designed for everyone to like it. That's like, people like, Disney pays off the critics. Like, I haven't gotten my check yet, and I give them a lot of positive reviews. Their formula is to make very broad appeal movies. Zack Snyder makes movies that appeal to a smaller group of people, but they fall in love with this niche take and his view of the world. I mean, you go back, like, starts off with a zombie movie, and then you move into 300, which most people if you like 300, you love 300. You don't have people that are like, 300 is okay. Like, you don't have many people like that. They're like, 300, this is awesome. I love that this thing exists, but it has like a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes.
because a bunch of people watched it and they went, what? It's a bunch of shirtless guys screaming out, wanting to die, huh? And then the people that saw that trailer and went, yeah! Every single one of those people loved that movie and still love that movie. And then, then he does Watchmen, and then he does this deconstruction of DC characters. He's a divisive anti-Disney, not against Disney. Because you see him, he seems like a super nice guy. But in the way that he makes movies, it's the opposite of what they're trying to do.